All right, we're back. Welcome back to the Mentally Fit Athlete. Today is going to be another solo episode where I answer questions from high school students. So, why don't we just get started? All right, let's see. So, what is the one thing you noticed puts the most stress on athletes? What puts the most stress on athletes? Yeah, great question. I'm not sure exactly what the specific thing is. Social media is one. Social media can put a lot of stress on athletes. Uh, One of the things that can happen is uh, high school athletes can post where they've been accepted to play at the collegiate level or any of the other accomplishments. And, people can see other athletes getting um, accepted or getting offers at school after school, and then maybe they only have one or maybe they don't have any. That can put a lot of pressure on them. That can be very stressful. So social media can be very stressful. And then in general, I know this is a little bit of a cop out, but outcomes. Outcomes put a lot of stress on athletes. If two athletes are competing against each other, only one can win. That means 50% always lose. So that can be very stressful. And if you're focused on outcomes like winning a specific game, winning a specific championship, um, getting accepted into specific schools, that's a lot of pressure and it's something that's outside of your control. Like social media, wanting some of your posts to get X amount of likes or comments or having X amount of followers. That's all specific outcome that is outside of your control and very stressful. So yeah, and anytime you're focused on getting an outcome, that's going to put a lot of pressure on you. That's not to say that you shouldn't have goals and you shouldn't have specific outcomes that you want. But as Ken Reviza used to say, just make sure that you're keeping the process greater than the outcome. You need to be more focused on your process, on what you're doing, on your love of the game, than on any specific outcome. All right, there you go. Let's see. Have you ever played any sports yourself and which ones? Yes. So most people in sports psychology, most people in coaching, most people in whatever sport related field, athletic training, physical therapy, that type of thing, we've all played sports. And, most of us, didn't do as well as we would have liked. Otherwise, we would be professional athletes or, uh, we would, if sports psychologists were the best at sports, then there wouldn't be any sports psychologists because nobody would be doing that work. So yeah, I played sports. We all did. Um, yeah, I in high school I played football, wrestling, and track. In community college, I ran track, and then after college, I competed in weightlifting. And then I think weightlifting was my best sport. My coach was coached by Tommy Kono, who's one of the greatest American weightlifters of all time. And fascinating story. I'll have to share that another time because I'm firing off these uh, rapid answers to questions. But yes, I've played sports like most people in the helping fields or like the athletic support fields. Okay, let's see. Uh, how can athletes slash your clients avoid thinking way too much during games? So how can athletes avoid thinking way too much in games? Yeah, so I've touched on this in the other questions. A lot of the questions are kind of different versions of the same type of question. Let's see. I'm not sure if I can say anything different right now, but I would just say, repeating one of my answers from before, mindfulness meditation. If you can only do one thing, if you don't have a lot of resources, if you don't have money to work with a sports psychology provider, if you, um, you know, if you don't enjoy doing workbooks like CBT or sports psychology workbooks, you can always find a free app or a free YouTube video on mindfulness meditation. You can go to a local library, check out a book on mindfulness meditation, and just keep doing at least a little bit of mindfulness meditation every day. I usually recommend starting with 3 minutes because a lot of times people want to start with 15 or they think they need to start with 15 or 20 minutes. And, we all know you do have 15 or 20 minutes a day, but when you're busy or when you just don't feel like it, doing a 15, 20-minute meditation can feel like a really long time. And it can be too big of a hurdle to get over, and people will just not do it. But 3 minutes, usually, even if someone's very busy, they'll do a 3-minute meditation. So I recommend finding a free app, a free YouTube video, or just setting a timer for 3 minutes and just breathing, just focusing on your breath and starting that daily habit. And it's going to do so much for you in terms of being able to be present, being able to refocus after distractions, being able to manage your anxiety, tolerate discomfort, things like that. So, short answer, mindfulness meditation. All right, let's see. When athletes slash your clients cannot achieve their goals, how can they maintain their motivation? So when athletes cannot achieve their goals, how can they maintain their motivation? All right. And, there's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of times I might be repeating myself, but, it still stands. So how do you maintain your motivation when you can't achieve your goals? Focus on the process and follow your values. So those are the main things. And then I also have to wonder, if you can't achieve your goals, are you setting the right goals? So let me start with that. Yeah, let me start with that. If you can't achieve your goals, um, are you actually setting the right goal? So a SMART goal, SMART, should be specific, measurable, achievable. What's the R? What's the R? Realistic, probably, and time sensitive. So if you can't even achieve your goals, then that means it's not achievable, it's not realistic, or whatever's going on. So let's just keep it real simple. Let's say you have a goal of bench pressing 200 pounds. Just go with that. Or 200 kilos. Let's make it a little bit more official, 200 kilos. And you just can't achieve that goal. Well, um, what are you bench pressing? Maybe you're bench pressing 150 kilos, you know? So, and what's your time frame? Is your time frame just your entire life? Well, that's not that helpful. That's not that motivating. At some point in my life, I want to bench press 200 kilos. Not a lot of motivation there. But if you say, okay, right now I'm bench pressing 150 kilos, and in 6 months, I want to have a new PR, and, what's realistic? I don't know. Let's just say 160 kilos. Okay. So now we're getting a lot more realistic. In 6 months, 160 kilos, and that's specific, that's measurable, that's achievable, probably, depending on how long you've been training, what your routine is, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And then it's time sensitive. So it's in 6 months. So that's more motivating. If somebody says in 6 months, I want you to increase your max, your PR, your one rep max by 10 kilos. Okay, now there's a time limit. Now there's a goal. Now you got a fire, fire in the belly, holding your feet to the fire, whatever. Then now there's some kind of fire inside or whatever motivating you. So if your goals are unachievable, how do you maintain your motivation? number one, make them achievable and give yourself a time limit. And then that's when we go back to focusing on the process, following your values. If every day you're thinking, oh, 160, 160, 160, I don't know, that might feel overwhelming. But if every day you're thinking, get a good warm up, um, you know, use good technique. If every day you're having fun in your training sessions, if every day you're drinking water, taking care of nutrition, resting, recovering, if every day you're doing what you value, doing your best, spending time with family, um, you know, uh, doing whatever values you have, being a good teammate. Now you're going to be enjoying yourself. Now you're going to find it meaningful and you're going to be very motivated and working hard. Uh, so, how do you stay motivated? Make your goals achievable, focus on the process, focus on your values. That ended up being longer than I thought it would be. Okay, let's see. Um, how do athletes slash your clients maintain composure and concentration under pressure? Composure and concentration under pressure. All right, great question. Yeah, so a lot of what we've talked about has touched on this, but I'll just give a slightly different answer. It's going to start out the same though, but then I'm going to change it up. So let's go back to mindfulness meditation. So practice mindfulness every day, 3 minutes a day. That's going to help you to maintain your concentration. Okay. So you've been doing it 3 minutes a day, every day for a while now, whatever makes sense to you. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe just 1 week if you're very motivated. And then now we're gonna increase the challenge. So you've been practicing mindfulness for 3 minutes. Okay, let's go up to 5 minutes. Let's go up to 10 minutes. You'll spend some time, spend a month or so going up to 10 minutes. Okay, we're gonna increase the challenge even more. All right. So now, instead of just finding a nice quiet place and meditating for 10 minutes, now you're going to start by listening to a song that's very distracting or that gets into your head and it's very catchy or something that brings up strong emotion. Doesn't have to be negative or positive, just strong emotion. And then after you do that, then you're going to go into your 10-minute meditation and don't try to block out the emotions or the distractions. Let it be there and then continue focusing on the present moment doing your meditation. All right, then now we're practicing maintaining composure. So you have that song that's bringing up emotion and it's distracting, and then instead of trying to block it out, you're going to tolerate it. You're going to let it be there, and you're going to keep refocusing on the present moment. And then as you get more and more comfortable with that, then you can increase the challenge even more. Get different songs that are even more emotionally charged or distracting, and then play videos that bring up emotion or that are distracting, or just do something that brings out some kind of stress. Expose yourself to some kind of stressor, and then go into a 10-minute meditation. And you don't try to block it out. You don't try to stop the emotion or the distraction. You let it be there, and you just maintain your composure, focusing on the present moment. And then that's going to help you so that when you're in practice and there's hecklers or your teammates are talking trash, in a fun way, hopefully, or, you're stressed about final exams or whatever it might be, you're going to be able to have that going on and maintain your composure, focusing on the present moment. And it just takes time. Just keep practicing that. It's like lifting weights. You can't lift weights once and then all of a sudden be big and strong. You got to keep lifting weights in a strategic way, in an intelligent way, consistently over time. All right, same thing. Okay, next question. Okay, let's see. What made you decide to become a sports psychologist? Did you have any past experience in playing sports that led you to get into the field? So, what made me decide to get in this field? And then, did I have experience playing sports? So, first, yeah, I played sports. It was okay, pretty good, but not. not necessarily elite. Um, and then what made me decide? Well, I've always enjoyed psychology. I've always enjoyed trying to understand people, trying to help people, and when I graduated, so I majored in psychology, and then when I graduated, I got a job doing something called neurofeedback. Very cool thing. It's like biofeedback, but for your brain. Biofeedback is when you use some kind of instrument or a computer to um, gain control or influence over a physiological process that you don't normally have control over. So in neurofeedback, you put sensors on the head. The sensors are reading the EEG, the electrical activity from your brain. And then when you're paying attention, when your brain's doing what we want it to do on the computer, Pac-Man will start eating dots. You're playing a video game with your brain. And then when you stop paying attention, you get distracted. Your brain stops doing what we want it to do. Pac-Man slows down and stops eating the dots. And then you refocus, Pac-Man speeds up, starts eating the dots again. And then people learn how to regulate their brains. And it's not necessarily something conscious that people do. People are just watching, they're trying to pay attention. And then something called operant conditioning takes over. And, you know, anytime something is rewarded, anytime, uh, anytime something's rewarded, you end up doing that thing more often. And then whenever it's not rewarded, you just stop doing it. Operant conditioning. So people learn to regulate their brains that way. I worked at a place like that. I thought it was fascinating, thought it was really cool. And then I went to school to be a psychologist and do that same type of thing. And then when I went to grad school, I thought, well, I love sports. I competed in weightlifting. Um, I've had lots of great experiences. I've practiced the mental game myself. So why not go into sports psychology? And I took every opportunity I could to kind of like create my own project and do my own stuff in sports psychology. I didn't actually go to a school that offered a sports psychology program. I went to a school that focused on clinical psychology, training clinical psychologists, and then I brought in, you know, um, sports psychology ideas and projects and things like that. All right, there you go. Let's see. Well, I wonder if I have time for another one. It's getting a little bit late. Let's see. Uh, what is your methodology for mental training? Yeah, I'll end on that one. What is your methodology for mental training? Yeah, that's kind of a big question. Um, like I've been talking about mindfulness meditation. I also do mental skills training. So things like positive self talk, um, visualization, um, working on focus, things like that. Uh, a lot of that incorporates mindfulness. And I do something called cognitive behavioral therapy, helping people to understand the relationship between thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And then, working on behaving and thinking in a more helpful way. And then I also do something called improv comedy. I've talked about that a little bit here and there. So improv comedy, very fun thing. Um, uh, yeah, and when you're doing improv, you never know what's going to happen. You feel uncomfortable. There's all kinds of different variables, things you have to think about, and you still need to be able to focus on the task at hand anyway, and just do your best. And communicate, work together, stay on task, remember all the details of what's going on in the scene, and then that is a great way to practice mental skills that could help in practice for your sport, and then in a competition. Uh, so, in general, my methodology is to help people to focus on the present moment, tolerate discomfort, and then stay on task, stay focused on whatever your task is in the present moment. All right. Let's go ahead and call it. Yeah, so this is fun. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm almost done with all these questions from high school students, so I'll probably do a few more of these videos, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, but hopefully, if you're watching this, hopefully it was helpful, you enjoyed it, and you can check me out at drjasonvonsteets.com. There'll be a link in the description if you're seeing this on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple or wherever. And then, yeah, if you like what I'm doing, you can reach out to me. You can ask me questions yourself. You can get a free phone consultation. If you like that, you can schedule an appointment and pay me money to work with me. And see you next time.